You know, I easily was able to study it without too much difficulty, or maybe I found it challenging. A finance-oriented career was, and now something happens with the banking sector globally or in the Bahamas, and the employment opportunity isn't there. Part of being free is to take responsibility for the things not turning out the way you hoped for. And accepting the fact that, to a great extent, when things go wrong in your life, you have no one to blame but yourself. And I don't mean that in a negative or accusatory way, but the fact is that we all make choices and decisions that then will either pan out the way we hoped or will not. But upon whom should the responsibility for the choices fall? Do you expect others to cover the losses or the expenses of your mistakes? Or if you want to be free, do you take that responsibility for yourself? You know, in the old American South, before the American Civil War, virtually all of the southern states where slavery existed had a law on their books. And that law was the law of manumission. And what did that mean? It meant that if some slave had done what a slave owner viewed as heroic or meritorious work for him and his family, he, the slave master, could give the slave freedom. Now, what did it mean to be given your freedom? Well, before you were on the slave owner's property, his plantation. He fed you, he clothed you, he put a roof over your head, he gave you the medical care. And now you're a free person. He's giving you your document that you're no longer a slave, you're a free man. What did it mean now to be free? Well, you now had to go out and get a job. You had to learn a skill or a trade, which might carry over from whatever the work was that you did as a slave on that plantation, or might involve you having to learn some other totally new skill. But now you were responsible to feed yourself. You were now responsible to put a roof over your head. You were now responsible to clothe yourself and your family. You were responsible to take care of any expenses if medical problems fell upon you through diseases or accident or injury on yourself and your family. You were responsible now. That's what freedom was taken to mean. I'm not taken care of. I'm not guaranteed. I'm not protected. A free man takes responsibility for these things himself. And he doesn't expect that others are obligated in any compulsory way to provide these things to them. Indeed, that's what the purpose of ending your slavery was about. Fine. If you want someone to give you 3 meals a day, a roof over your head, clothes on your back, and medical care when you're sick, then go and offer yourself to be a slave. No problem. That's what it means to be personally responsible. Okay? That's what it means to be personally responsible. Now, what I want to suggest as we go through these lectures, and I know it's a lot of lectures over 2 days. It's like 5 today, including this one, and 4 tomorrow. It's sort of trying to give an overview of all that can be understood, broadly defined from the economist's point of view, on a whole variety of different topics, issues, themes, social problems, and policies. But the core element, let me suggest, of this, the core element of this, is that the choice that we have to face as human beings, as citizens of the countries in which we live, is what kind of society do we want? What kind of society do we want? Do we want a society in which individuals are free to make their own choices, decisions, to pursue their own goals, visions of happiness, meaning for their lives, higher callings if they believe they have one, but at the same time be responsible for their actions? I chose to be a college professor. I have a PhD in economics. There are jobs in the world out there that I could have been a business economist. Probably made more money working as a business analyst, business evaluator for some private company. And my wife probably would appreciate the greater amount of income that I might have earned. But I chose because I like teaching. I like writing. I like having the time to read, and I'm being honest, right? A college professor is a great thing to be. You get most of the summer off and a long Christmas, New Year's holiday. What kind of job offers that? And you just get to go into a classroom and jibber jabber all day about what you're interested in to a captive audience. This is wonderful. This is like the greatest profession in the world. I live for this. Okay, I love being a teacher. Okay? And you see what, you know, and what, you know what, another great thing about being a professor? It's like being a comedian who never has to learn new jokes. Because you have a new audience I'm in my classes, I often use the same jokes that I used 15 years ago, because it's a new group every time, right? It's like a comedian who never faces the same audience twice. It's great. I never have to get new material. It's wonderful. Anyway, but I don't make a greater income than I could if I was a business economist, or maybe even have gotten as a role as an economist in some government bureau, agency, and department, such as in Washington, D.C., where the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank. Some of those economists, if they move up, the promotion ladder, make very good salaries, $150,000, $200,000. If you're really at the top, more than that a year. Okay, so who's responsible for the fact that I don't have a higher income that also my wife would appreciate? No, me. I made these choices. Okay. Now, as a professor, I'll be honest. By American standards, I make a comfortable living as a professor. But I'm not rolling in dough. I have to be planning, how to manage my retirement funds, my standard of living when I finally retire. But who's responsible? I made these choices. I made these decisions. No one else is responsible for it. There were benefits, but there's costs, right? I have a job that I like more and that I enjoy more, gives me more free time to do other things I like, but there are costs, right? A lower income, looking over the lifetime, than if I had chosen a business economist career. Who's responsible? No one but me. Freedom means that I take the responsibility for my own actions. And I then, given the choices I've made and the income I earn, I then have to decide how to spend my income on a house, car, food, retirement, etc., etc. Freedom involves this sense of personal responsibility. That is what a free society means. And that is what the choice is. Do we want to live in a society in which individuals have the freedom to make these choices for themselves? To read what you want, say what you want, associate with whom you want, work at things, hopefully, that you'd prefer to work at, deciding the job that's interesting, the career track you'd like to follow, the income that might come your way? Or do you want a society in which those freedoms are taken away? In which the government controls, regulates, manages, directs, plans more of your life, and the consequences that follow from that? Do you want to be guaranteed a job? Do you want to be guaranteed an income? Do you want to be guaranteed retirement? Do you want to be guaranteed medical care? Do you want to be guaranteed a whole variety of other things? Yes. But then the government will be responsible to make those choices for you. So who do you want to make these choices? Would you prefer to make these choices yourself and maybe make better choices than when someone else makes the decisions for you? Or do you want them to make those choices for you, but you lose these options and you're